Top of the morning to you. And the rest of the day to me. I say that in honor of St. Patrick's Day, which will be coming up Wednesday. And I'd like to take a moment and just thank my chapel team for doing such a beautiful job helping make this service so beautiful. You know, today is the Ides of March also. Old Julius got the axe on that day. Well, a knife would probably be more appropriate. But I don't want to see any suspicious looks on any of y'all faces, because I'm getting out of this service alive. Whether you like to talk or not. Yeah, Julius had it rough today. Almost kind of rough like this fella named Fred. Fred inherited $10 million. Isn't that rough? Terrible. But in order to receive that inheritance, Fred had to inherit it in either Brazil or Chile. Fred chose Brazil. Unhappily, in Chile, he would have inherited it in land which had uranium, gold, and silver. But in Brazil, he could receive his inheritance in coffee or nuts. Yeah, Fred was nuts because he chose the nuts. And the problem is that the bottom dropped out of the market on nuts. And coffee went up to $1.30 a pound, wholesale, unroasted. Well, Fred had lost everything he had, except for a gold watch. He decided to sell that solid gold watch and get a plane ticket back home. It seems that he made enough money to be able to fly to New York City or Boston. Fred chose Boston. Well, he was waiting there, and when the plane from New York City pulled up, he noticed it was a brand new 747 jet. Red carpet inside, chick people, wine popping hostesses. And then, when the plane from Boston arrived, I should say creaked up, it was a old 1928 Ford Tri-Motor. Had crying children inside, tethered goats, which is just a word for tied up. When they were flying over the Andes Mountains, one of the engines fell off. Poor Fred, he said, went up to the captain and said, "I'm a jinx on this plane. You better let me out of this plane or you all might just lose your lives. Give me a parachute." Well, the pilot agreed, naturally. But he said, under one condition, anybody who bails out of this plane has to take 2 shoes. So, Fred jumped out of the plane, and he was flying dizzily in the air, and all the while he was trying to make up his mind which ripcord to pull. Well, he chose the left one. It was rusty and the screws came out. So he pulled the right time the chute came out, but the shroud cords broke. Well, poor desperate Fred cried out, "St. Francis, save me!" Then a great hand came down out of heaven and grabbed Fred by a wrist, letting him dangle over in the air. And a gentle but inquisitive voice asked, "St. Francis Xavier?" Should I quit this job? Should I get another? Decisions, decisions, decisions. When I was in college, I started to have a lot of decisions. What courses should I take? Where should I go with my life? Eventually, I reached a point where I said, isn't there more to life than just doing this kind of thing? I mean, I spent my high school years doing student government, sports, and all that. Now we've got to do all this stuff all over again. So I began to cultivate a relationship with God and came to the conclusion that there was nothing I could do more important and more meaningful than doing the will of God. I like Henry Drummond's statement, the maximum achievement of any man's life after it is all over is to have done the will of God. No man or woman can have done any more with life. I believe that, and I still do. But that often causes indecisiveness also, doesn't it? God, what do you want me to do? I remember asking God, what courses do you want me to take, God? I even Christmas shopped one time, trying to become still and hear that still small voice. People got some interesting gifts. Some of them were right on target. You ever look for signals? Did you see that bumper sticker? Did you hear what she said? Is that God speaking? It gets confusing sometimes. But the good news is this. When we are willing to do God's will, we will do it. Paul wrote in Romans chapter 12, verses 1 to 2, If we offer ourselves, you're going to love this word, unity, folks, as a living sacrifice. I wonder if that's what Julius Caesar said. They didn't have unity back then. Basically, I think this means, as Laura Maday has said, sacrifice means to make holy. And I think the most holy thing we could do is to offer ourselves to God, to know God, to have a relationship with God, and to do whatever God wants us to do. And then he goes on to say, do not be conformed to this world. Be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that you may prove what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. In other words, don't do what you know is not in accordance with the goodness of God. We know God is all good and that He only wants the highest and best for us. So don't do anything contrary to what you know is good. But also yield yourself to that Spirit within, so that you may be transformed, that you may prove what is the will of God. Now that word prove comes from the Greek. It means, it refers to the process of forging precious metal and testing it for its strength. So what is Paul saying? According to Blaine Smith, the author of Knowing God's Will, which I think is an excellent book, he said that if you're willing to do God's will, you will do it. We will do it. We will know God's will and we'll do it all at the same time. So we need not fear making poor choices. We can be confident in our decisions because we can't make a wrong decision. Eric Butterworth says, you cannot really make a wrong choice, a bad decision. Any step you take will lead eventually to your good. Because a negative experience encountered will produce the challenge in which to outgrow the kind of consciousness from which more constructive steps will be taken. So a wrong choice is a right choice at that particular time. God will guide us in all that we do. God is referred to in the Old Testament with the analogy as being a shepherd for Israel. In the New Testament, Jesus is referred to as the Good Shepherd in many different ways. Well, what is so encouraging is that the Palestinian idea of shepherd is one who is compassionate for his sheep. Not only compassionate, but is a great leader. God takes initiative to make sure that we get on the right track. The same way the shepherd makes sure that the sheep get to the right pasture. And if the sheep wander out, that shepherd's going to do whatever he can to make sure that sheep gets right back on track. Whether it be throwing a stone and out in front of the sheep so that it will get startled and then run back into the flock. Whatever. God will take initiative to make sure we go in the right direction when we're willing. So we can make right decisions. Best for us. See yourself moving through your life, facing your decisions, making them with confidence, knowing that God is guiding you because you're willing to do whatever God will have you do. I'd like to share with you someone who was willing. And because of her willingness, her work has blessed countless people and is still blessing them today. I'd like to share with you a prayer that was written by Myrtle Fillmore in 1913. Holy One, I would do do thy will. I would give all that I am, all that I am capable of being, into thy keeping. I would think thy thoughts after thee. I would give my life in making manifest thy will in all my words and work. I would be dependent on thee alone for my inspiration and incentive. I would know or acknowledge no other source. Thou in me, and I in thee, and they in us, made perfect in one. Thou hast sent me into the world. Thou only can direct and vitalize my effort. Help me to realize this moment. There are none beside thee. God, we offer ourselves, willing to do whatever you would have us do, knowing that as we move about and make decisions, they will be in accordance with that which you would have us do. And so it is. I invite you to lower your hands for a moment. I want to let us go this morning with these thoughts from the breastplate of St. Patrick. May you be blessed with the strength of heaven, the light of the sun and the radiance of the moon, the splendor of fire, the speed of lightning, the swiftness of wind, the depth of the sea, the stability of earth, and the firmness of rock. And so it is. Amen. Amen.